Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. And we are so excited. We have Dr. Supatra Tovar, and she is a clinical psychologist. She's a registered dietitian and a fitness expert, and she has written an amazing book all about deprogramming diet culture, which you guys know I am such a fan of. And she talks all about how to rethink about your relationship with food, how to heal your mind and live a diet-free life, because I also am such a fan of that. I am anti-diets, really causes that binge cycle. So we are super excited to have you here. Welcome, Dr. Supatra.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
What made you write this new book and what got you passionate about this space?
Well, it came from just many, many years of first for me not having to worry about weight or shape as I was growing up, but really tending to struggle with that more and more so in my later 20s and my early 30s. And when that started to happen for me, I was active in the entertainment industry. And of course, that's a place rife for, disordered eating, eating disorders. Luckily, I never developed my own eating disorder, but I certainly developed a lot of disordered eating patterns during that time. And while I was pursuing the entertainment industry, I also became a Pilates instructor. But that's when my life really, really changed for me. And it really wasn't about what Pilates does for the body, although it's an amazing form of exercise. It was when I started to help people. And when I started to help people, they started to come to me not just to talk about, exercise and perform exercise, but they talked to me about their struggles themselves with dieting. And what I realized is that at the time just knew basically that we should, and I put that in quotes, be dieting if we wanted to lose weight, but I didn't really understand why it wasn't working, not only for me, but for others. And so I did a very long and protracted deep dive when I went into graduate school. I went to get my master's in nutritional science, became a registered dietitian, and even with that education, I said, I still don't get it. I still don't understand why we struggle so much. And I really wanted to help people on a holistic level. And so I went to get my doctorate in clinical psychology. And it was toward the end of my doctorate that I started to realize that it really wasn't any of us that was the problem. It wasn't that we were dieting incorrectly. It was that dieting was actually the problem. And when I graduated from that and started to work with my clients, I developed a system. And it's based out of the research that I was doing about how diets actually don't work and how they're actually designed in essence to fail because of our evolutionary biology. And when I started to work with my clients in terms of rejecting dieting, and really starting to reformulate their relationships with themselves and with food, that's when I saw so much success, not only with my clients, with myself personally. And that's what drove me to write the book, because I want so many people out there to reject dieting and go toward listening to their bodies, because that is truly the way to achieve the weight that you want to achieve if you are looking to lose weight, and to keep it off for life, but in a joyful fashion, in a way that it is not restrictive, in a way that celebrates eating.
Mm. Well, one of the things I love is that you kind of really get down to, a lot of these things, obviously, when you go on a diet, it's all surface, right? And you kind of go, okay, if we want to actually fix this eating problem, it would be just like if someone had a drinking problem or something else. We have to get to the underlying issues that are causing this overeating or undereating or anxiety or depression or whatever you have, and you're actually getting under the roof of the car and kind of going, okay, what is the trigger that's causing you to go, I'm not physically hungry, or I'm already full but now I want to eat more. So talk a little bit about what kind of things that you talk about with your clients to get down to what that root issues are.
Well, That is, it's a simple yet complex process. Anybody in society today is essentially influenced by diet culture. And diet culture is based on two very distinct biases. One is lookism, and that is the unhealthy pursuit of the thin ideal. And if you look out, in society today, it's really about ultra thinness and emaciation as the ideal. The second bias is weightism, or essentially fat shaming and fat phobia. We are absolutely petrified of being shamed for being overweight because of the way that people are treated in this country and in the world, essentially. And those two biases drive us to diet culture. Now, diet culture is just, kind of a conglomeration of different companies and, diets essentially that are designed to kind of give us the quick fix. That's what's going to get us quickest away from being fat shamed and toward this unhealthy ideal. And so that's one huge major influence that drives us to dieting. In addition to that, we receive so much mixed messaging from our homes. You've got to finish everything on your plate so that you can earn dessert. You might pick up the same kind of diet habits as your parents. You might watch them and model them overeating and develop those patterns as well. So we are inundated with all of these different mixed messaging, but essentially, most people are driven by fear toward trying to lose weight. And none of that actually really ultimately works.
Let's get really practical. So we've talked about the problem, and I want to really talk about the solution. So give me
Mhm.
some of the actionable steps and practical techniques that someone who's listening can implement right now so that they can lose weight and have a healthier relationship with food.
Yes. Well, the name of my book is called Deprogram Diet Culture for a reason. I think the most important thing that we can do is deprogram ourselves from diet culture and then move toward the loving and joyful habit of listening to our bodies. So I have three recommendations to deprogram yourself from diet culture and learn how to start to listen to yourself. The first one is I think it's so important for all of us to deprogram our social media feed. I think we're inundated with a lot of different images, messaging, videos, all sorts of really negative content that influence us in that way, and really kind of tap into those two biases that I was talking about. And so I recommend to all of my clients that they reprogram their feed. They hide, block, and unfollow anything that makes them, feel less than, feel unworthy, make them want to diet, make them feel competitive, and reprogram their social media feed for healthy, uplifting, inspiring content. The second tip that I have for people is that they, if they can at all costs, avoid watching or consuming any kind of advertising. I know that we have to fuel our, capitalism and all of that stuff, but we can be very intentional about what we see and what we buy. And most advertising that comes from diet culture is really manipulative and designed to make you feel less than. So I recommend that people do something else when a commercial comes on. Learn a hobby, learn a new skill, learn to play an instrument, do something that is constructive for them. Then the third step is a little bit harder. It's to create boundaries around people that you would consider to be more on the toxic level, people that are encouraging you to diet or to overexercise or who's pointing out how much weight you've gained. It's so important to create boundaries around people like that, not to, end any relationship whatsoever, but to then, you know, limit the amount of time that you're going to spend with people like that and gravitate toward people who are positive, who uplift you and support you on your health journey. Then, once you've eliminated those influences, you can then start to really tune into yourself. Diet culture, is very much about you resisting your hunger, about you ignoring your hunger. And really, the most important thing that you can do, especially if you want to lose weight, is to honor your hunger, not to deny it. Because when you honor your hunger, you are then signaling to your hunger hormone that you're safe. And that is, I think, the most important lesson that my clients have walked away from is that rather than denying your hunger, which then, of course, ramps up your ghrelin, your hunger hormone, and makes you more prone to binge eating after your periods of restriction, if you signal to your body that you're safe and you allow food and you really listen intuitively to what your body is asking for at that time, that is also really important. And you eat slowly and mindfully enough that you're paying attention to when you feel satisfied. That also signals to your body that you're safe. Why is that so important? You need to be in a parasympathetic nervous system state in order to digest and process your food. If you are stressed, if you are not listening to those signals, you're going to be in a sympathetic nervous system state. When you're in the parasympathetic nervous system, that's your rest and digest nervous system. Your body then can assimilate all of these nutrients in the most efficient way. You're also in that calm, relaxed state that helps the food move efficiently through your system. You're much less likely to hold on to nutrients, especially ones that then get stored as fat, when you do this simple work. So it's all about taking out the outside influences and only honoring the inside influences. And when you get really good at this, your body naturally goes to the weight that is healthiest for you.
I don't know about you guys, but I am stressed. And if you're feeling overwhelmed this holiday season, then I get it. With all the family get togethers, it is just a relentless source of stress. But anyway, there is something that I've got called Stress Guardian, and it's actually made by Bioptimizers, the people who make the magnesium breakthrough, which I love, love, love. But anyway, they are literally made this new product. It has 14 adaptogenic herbs and it just regulates your stress. I just actually took some right this second and it's awesome. If you go to stressguardian.com/wasteaway and put in waste away for 10% off your first order, it's stressguardian.com/wasteaway. Go there now.
So I will tell you my number one thing that, and I talk about in my book, and I'm very honest with people, is like eating slowly, I think is absolutely imperative because obviously you don't get full for 20, 25 minutes at least. And so if you're eating your food in 5 minutes, you're just like, I'm still hungry. And then you've eaten so fast, so then you're like, okay, now let me eat more because I'm still hungry. And I will tell you, if there's two things that I do not do well, and I'm a huge advocate of it, but one is eating when I'm stressed. Because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I think it's easier said than done. It's like, okay, let's say I'm having a stressful day, my stomach's growling, I know I'm hungry, right? So I'm already stressed. So to say, okay, don't eat when you're stressed, that is a problem. And then the second thing is what are some very practical tips to actually eat slowly? Like, how long does it
Mm-hmm.
take you to eat?
Well, I try to shoot for 20 minutes per meal. That I think is a really ideal. Like you said, it takes about 20 minutes for the brain to register the presence of food in your stomach. And I recommend mindful eating. I think mindful eating is like the most joyful way to eat. And so a lot of people are like, I don't know what that is, or what is intuitive eating, what's mindful eating? They're very similar. Mindful eating came first because it's based out of uh, you know, Buddhist tradition in terms of being present, not only just with your food, but just present in general. The definition of mindfulness is an open-hearted, non-judgmental awareness of the present moment. So when we talk about that with food, it's an open-hearted, non-judgmental awareness of your food in the present moment. So you tap into your senses. You take the time to actually look at your food. You take the time to take in the aroma of your food, the touch or the feel of the utensils in your hands, bringing it to your mouth and actually savoring the taste of it in your mouth. We don't do this. We are not conditioned to do this. But when you actually start to practice this and you eat slowly and you're present and you don't have a judgment, especially, I really highly recommend people take out the old good food, bad food talk. When you just are present and you are not judgmental about your food, you give your body the breath and the room to then tell you, yes, I like this, or no, this is not what I like. I love to use a potato chip example because I love potato chips and I think that there should be no food that's off limits. When you actually are mindfully eating potato chips, for me, like 5 to 10, that's all I can do. That's it. That's when my body starts to say, listen, lady, that's a lot of salt. there's too much grease in that. I don't really like that. That way you don't have food rules, but you actually honor what your body's telling you. And when you get really good at it, you start to notice that your body really zings with energy and vitality and with, joy when you're eating food that's closer to the ground, as opposed to something that might be more processed. And like I said again, I don't have good food or bad food rules at all. Everything should be on the table. But when you start to realize how energized you get from food that's closer to the ground, your body starts to crave that more and more. When you honor that, the body gets very, very happy. It gets very, very satisfied. It has the nutrients it needs to give you energy, to make you think clearly, to, have a positive mood and to lower your anxiety. And that's also the natural way that you get to your healthier weight.
Guys, I just want to interrupt for just a second, and I want you to hear Paul Saladino talk about why liver is so important. And if you don't like liver, we have another option for you.
Your ancestors were eating liver. And the reason that this sort of wisdom has been passed down is because liver is very nutritious. It's basically nature's multivitamin. If you look at the nutrients in meat, they're great. You've got zinc, you got B6, you got B12, you got some K2. But if you look at liver, it really complements what's in muscle meat. And there are many unique nutrients found in organs, specifically liver as a powerhouse of these, that are difficult to obtain outside of liver. Like meat and organs are like peanut butter and jelly. They just go together. They're supposed to be eaten together. The easiest way to eat liver is just to do it raw. If you don't want to eat liver raw, you can cook it. But the reason that I like to do it raw is because there are unique nutrients in liver that are probably somewhat degraded when you cook the liver.
This really is like the most nutrient-rich supplements that you can find, and they are amazing. I have tried them. I absolutely love them. So just go to heartandsoil.co, use the coupon code Chantel Ray, and save some money there. I think it's so funny that you use the chip example, because my mom, and obviously hence why I've always had some food issues. My mom always talks about how her sister, she was always very thin. And she says she was the type, she's like, that slogan, you can't eat one Lay's, you can't eat one. And she said, my sister was the only person I knew that could literally be like, well, I'll have one. And she would eat one chip, or 4 chips or 5 chips or something like that. It's really when you watch somebody who I say that, they're basically naturally thin, right? They've never struggled with their weight. They've never been on a diet. They just really know how to eat food. I actually have a video course where I interviewed over 1,000 women who were naturally thin. They've never, ever been on a diet. And I wrote a book about it and put all their tips in there. That's what it's called, Waste Away Through Intermittent Fasting, because none of these thin women ever said they did intermittent fasting. They just said, I'm not really that hungry for breakfast. I probably don't eat until 11, or,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? Like they never said they did fasting. They just said, I'm not really hungry until 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever that it was, whatever their eating window was. And so I just took all these tips and literally happen to have this spoon here. One of them, you'll watch her eat soup, and it's just amazing what you can watch these girls in the video course that I have. The girl takes her spoon and she puts half, like I've never seen anything. She's like one of my tricks is I don't eat soup when I fill up the whole spoon. She's like, I only fill it half the way. So she fills it up half the way, eats a bite, and then puts her spoon down. Then she talks and then she does another one. But it's watching it in action is so powerful that you guys literally have to watch this video course. It's really, really amazing. If you go to chantelrayway.com, you can go look for that video course. But I'm telling you right now, or we have another girl that she was Miss US, Miss Virginia, and like one of the runner-ups for Miss USA. And she would say, when I have Skittles, I'll eat Skittles. Maybe I'll have 4 Skittles, or 4 mini M&Ms. So that's awesome. But anyway, any closing thoughts that we haven't talked about that you want listeners to understand?
Well, I think my whole philosophy is that it's so important that we don't have rules around eating, around what we need to eat, what we shouldn't eat, what's good, what's bad. And I really want to make that land with people. The fewer rules you actually have, the more freedom you feel. And when you feel free, you are much less likely to go and binge. And that is the really important takeaway, that you can actually just tune into your body, ask it what it needs, feel free to eat, some things that you would have considered taboo or off limits. But when you do eat them slowly and mindfully, you can listen then for when your body tells you you've had enough. And I tell you what, everyone that I've ever worked with that has adopted this has told me this is the most free and joyful they've ever felt while they're going to their most healthy natural weight. We don't have to suffer. We don't have to diet. You have another way that doesn't involve suffering.
I love it. Well, tell listeners where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Absolutely. I have my practice website, which is drsupatratovar.com. It's DR, and then my whole name, Supatra Tovar, one word.com. That's where if they want to come to have therapy with me or any of my associates, I'm licensed in California, Colorado, Illinois, and soon to be New York. And if you want the book, if you want to take the course, which is a deeper dive into deprogramming diet culture, you can go to anew-insight.com, anew-insight.com. You can also book me for speaking and coaching as well there.
Awesome. Well, you guys stay tuned. We've got another episode coming up in just a few. Bye-bye for now.